Hi guys, in this tutorial I'm going to be creating this beautiful tiered gown using the freehand method. It is very simple, and if this is what you're interested in learning, keep on watching and let's get straight into it. I'm going to be using these 6 yards of Ankara print for this tutorial, and please be rest assured that this might consume a lot of fabric, so we might even end up using the whole of these 6 yards of fabric. Now I'm going to be cutting out the first layer and the last layer. Okay, now we are not cutting out the upper part. The upper part is a bustier. Now this is what you are going to do, because this comes in layers, and we are going to join it to the waistline of the upper part, which is the bustier. Now you're going to have to times your round waist circumference by 2.5 inches. Now for this client, her round waist circumference is 35 inches. I'm going to times 35 by 2.5 inches. Okay. So now I decided to use 36 times 2.5 inches. Do you guys understand? Because I'm going to also be needing zipper allowance. So what I did right there was to cut out 36 plus 36 plus 18 inches. That is 36 times 2.5 inches. Okay, so that gave me 90 inches. Now for the last layer, 90 inches times 2.5 inches also, that is what we are going to be doing. So these pieces that I just cut out, I'm going to be using it for the first layer and some parts for the last layer. That is what you can see me trying to fold in right here, and I'm going to keep it by the side. Now you guys, if you want to cut out this type of gown, please first of all cut out the layers, okay, which is the down parts, before cutting out the upper parts, which is the bustier parts. Do you guys understand? Now I'm going to be folding my fabric into two so that we can cut out the upper part, which is the bustier. And for this bustier, I'm going to be using the freehand method. I'm not going to be drafting on pattern. So in this tutorial, you're going to be learning a lot of sewing technique. Okay, so I've marked out my starting line, and after that I went down to the bust point 10 inches, the under bust point 14 inches, and then the waistline is 17 inches. Remember, I'm not going to be using the front length and the back length because I'm using the freehand method of cutting out my bustier blouse for this tutorial. Okay, now after that I went ahead to divide my shoulder measurement into two and then marked it out. Then from there, I'm going to go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. And then after that, I'm going to place my tape on this shoulder slope and then divide my bust circumference by 6 and add 1.5 inches. Okay. After dividing, I had 9 inches. I'm going to mark it down. Next thing I'm going to do is make sure that on this chest line, I'm having my shoulder divided by 2 again, and I'm going to connect it to the shoulder slope just like this, just to have my armhole depth. Okay, now after that I'm going to mark out my neck width and the neck depth for the fronts. So for the front neck width, I'm going to make use of 4 inches, and then for the depth I'm going to make use of 3.5 inches. Okay, so you can see previously I marked 3.5 inches for the width, but I corrected it to 4 inches. Now I'm going to connect this neck width and the neck depth together and then make it visible enough for you guys to see. Now after that, I'm going to connect my neck width into the shoulder slope, and then next thing I will do is to add up my half an inch shoulder sewing allowance. Then after adding it up, I'm going to connect it just like this. And then next, I'm going to go ahead and divide my armhole depth into two. So whatever it gives me, I'm going to mark it and then go in by half an inch. Okay. Now after that, I'm going to go ahead and divide my bust circumference by 4 on the chest line, mark it down, and next thing I'm going to do is go down to the under bust points, divide my under bust circumference by 4, mark it down, and then I would go down to the waistline, divide my waist circumference by 4, and equally mark it down. Now after this, I'm going to connect all the points together, and then the next thing is for me to connect my armhole curve. Okay, just like this. After this, I'm going to divide my nipple to nipple measurement, which is my bust span. So I'm using 8 inches. 8 divided by 2 is 4 plus half an inch for sewing allowance. So I'm going to mark on the bust point line down to the waistline, 4.5 inches, connect the points together. And from the bust point line, I'm going to go down by half an inch. Okay, you already know why I'm doing this. Now, after that, we are going to remove our darts. So on the under bust line, I'm going to take out 2 inches for the side fronts, and I will equally do the same on the waistline. Now to the center fronts, I'm going to take in half an inch on both the under bust point and the waistline. Okay, now after this, I'm going to connect it using a curve, just like you can see me doing like this. Okay. Now from here, I'm going to move over to the armhole curve, and I'm going to measure my armhole curve just to know what I have right there. So right there, I have 9.5 inches. I'm going to divide it into two, and whatever it is that I have, I'm equally going to measure it out and mark. Now I'm going to take out 1 inch for my dart of the armhole. I hope you guys understand me. And after that, I'm going to connect all the lines to the bust points. Now, after this, I'm going to go ahead and raise up the armhole by 1 inch because of the dart intake, okay? And then I will go ahead and connect it properly well into the bust point line, just like this. Now, I'm equally going to replace this 1 inch on the chest line. And then this is my new armhole, you can see. Now, after connecting the lines properly well, I'm going to put my sewing allowance on the chest line, 2 inches. I'll move down to the under bust line, replace my dart intake of 2.5 inches, and then add up 2 inches for the sewing allowance. I'll move over to the waistline, replace my dart intake of 2.5 inches, and add up 2 inches for my sewing allowance. And then I would go ahead and connect all the points together. So guys, as you can see, we are done with the front block. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go ahead and cut this out. This is very important. You have to pay good attention to how I am cutting this out. Remember, all my seam allowances has been added, both the shoulder sewing allowance, the side seam sewing allowance, and all the necessary allowances. Okay, so first of all, I'm cutting out the center fronts. So you want to follow my hand the way I'm cutting this out and do yours exactly like that. Now after that, please do not forget to notch the underbust point, okay? Now after that, I'll put it by the side and continue to cut out. So guys, after cutting out the front block, this is the center front and the side front. And please do not forget to use your chalk to indicate the wrong part of your fabric. Now we are going to fold in our fabric again so that we can cut out the back. Now, although I didn't tell you this initially when we were drafting out the front parts, if you want to fold without wasting your fabric, what you have to do is use the biggest part of your body measurements. Okay, so for this upper part, which is the half scale, the biggest part right there is the bust circumference. So what you have to do is divide it by 4 and add your dart allowance and your sewing allowances. Okay, so I've folded into 2 and I'm going to mark the baseline. Now on this, my baseline is the shoulder line as well, and after that, from the center fold, I'm going to mark in 2 inches for my zipper allowance. Now after that, I'm going to place my tape on the baseline and mark down to the length of the back. Okay, now initially I told you I'm not using 2 inches different for the front and the back. I'm using the same length for both the front and the back. That's why you did not see me take out my bust darts for the front, okay? Because this is freehand method, I am using the same length for both the front and the back, okay? Now, after that, I'm going to bring in my center front and the side fronts, place it after the zipper allowance. And now I'm going to use the side front to overlap the center front a little, making sure that the distance between the center front and the side front on the waistline is just 1 inch, okay? Because I want to use half inch for my dart intake. I hope you guys understand. Now, after that, I'm going to use my pins to hold it in place so that when I'm cutting this out, it won't be moving. Now, I'm going to move to the shoulder line and I'm going to determine the depth of my back neckline, okay? So for the depth of the back, I'm making use of 8 inches, and for the width, I'm making use of same 4 inches. After marking it out, I'm going to connect it just like this. And then after that, I'm now going to go ahead and cut it out. Now, if I want to cut out, I'm going to ensure that I follow the half an inch shoulder stitching allowance for the fronts. Okay. And equally after that, I'm going to ensure that I leave some inches. Okay. Because the back armhole and the front armhole is not usually the same. Okay. So you can see that I came out a little for the back armhole. Now, after that, I'm going to move over to the waistline and cut it out, okay? And then next, I am going to move away the front and cut out the back neckline, just like this. Now, after cutting out the neckline, I'm going to move over to the waistline of the zipper allowance. And I'm going to, from the center fold, come in by half an inch. This is just to remove any form of bulge around the zipper allowance. I would connect it to the neckline and then cut it out. Now, after this, I'll go ahead and notch the zipper allowance, and then I would move over to the waistline so that we can take out our darts. Okay, remember that we separated the center front and the side front by 1 inch. So I'm going to mark it out now to indicate that, and then I will go ahead and remove the center front and the side fronts so we can have only the back block on the table. Now I'm going to draw out the chest line across just like this. Remember that the chest line is 9 inches, okay? So I'm going to measure it for you to see. You can see I have 9 inches and the bust point is 10 inches, right? Now you can see that I've marked out my half an inch for my dart, okay? I'm going to equally make sure that I have 4.5 inches, which is my bust span measurement. And then I would go ahead and connect my dart legs, okay? So guys, as you can see, I am done with the back block and this is what I have. I'm now going to use my chalk to indicate the wrong part of the fabric. And then after that, this is the front block as well. Let me set it on the table so that you guys can see. Now, I've also gone ahead to cut out exactly what I have on this actual fabric on my lining, okay? And I did that off camera because I don't want this tutorial to be too long. I also went ahead to pad it using my fusible interface. So this is it for the front, and I'm going to bring that up the back so that you guys can see as well. So this is what the back looks like. Now let me bring in the one that I've padded so that you guys can see. So this is what it looks like after I padded it, and you can see the lining is by the sides. Now, if you notice for the back, I went ahead to trim off some part of the dart, okay? So if I'm joining the dart of the back, I'm going to use just a little inch to join it because I've trimmed off some parts. I don't want a situation whereby I want to join my dart. I will start using my chalk to mark it out, okay? So that would help me. It will be very easy for me to just locate my dart and then join it, okay? So if I want to join in now, I'm going to place it like this and join. You can see. I will equally repeat that same thing for the lining piece. This is so simple. Okay, that is the easiest way to join your darts. Okay, so guys, this is for the lining. Now I am going to go couple this on my sewing machine. I've actually showed you guys how to do this in my previous tutorial. It is very simple. I'm going to link that video in the description box. Okay, now after padding it and joining, this is what the inside looks like, and this is what the front looks like. You can see the way it's standing. Now this is the lining piece, and again this is what the back looks like. You can see I've joined my dart for the back. Now it is time for us to turn this out with our lining. Go ahead and place the two right side facing each other, and after that, first of all, you are going to sew the neckline using 1/2 inch. After sewing that, go ahead and top stitch, but before you top stitch, make sure you notch and join the side seam as well. Now for the back piece, go ahead and equally place it right side facing each other. And after placing that, go ahead and join the neckline using 1/2 inch, notch it, top stitch, and join the side seam and equally join the zipper allowance using 1/4 inch. Okay, just a little inch. Now after I was done, this is what I have. You can see. Now guys, it is time for us to shape the back. Remember, I'm using a freehand method, okay? And I use the same length for both the front and the back. And you guys, you know that we have boobs in front and the back is so flat. Okay, now to make this align properly, like to make this set very well, right at the back, you're going to have to, from the waistline, go up by 2 inches, just like this, and then trim it and go towards the side. Can you see what I just did? Okay, from the center front, which is the zipper side, go up by 2 inches and then connect it to the side. Do you understand? So this will help the center back to go upwards. Okay, so that is what I actually did right there. Now after that, go ahead and mark out your zipper allowance and join them together. Okay, now, after joining your zipper allowance, go ahead and place the front and the back right side facing each other. And what you're going to do next is join the shoulders. Okay. After joining the shoulders, join the side seam, and that is it. Okay. So we move over to the layers. Okay. Now for the layers, this is my first layer, which is the one I'm going to attach to the half scale, which is the upper part. So you can see what it looks like. Okay, so for the wideness, I've explained what I did right there. I times my waist circumference by 2.5 inches. Now for the length, I'm going to minus my half scale 17 inches and then measure down to where I want the length of the first layer to stop, which is 43 inches, as you can see. So guys, I'm going to bring in the third layer. Now the wideness of the first layer is 90 inches, right? So what I'm going to do here is 90 times 2.5 inches again. So for each layer, I'm tightening it by 2.5 inches. So if I have had third layer, I'm going to times whatever I have for the last layer by 2.5 inches again. And that is how to get your tiered dress, okay? Now for the length, from the shoulder to the first layer is 43 inches. This means that the last layer is 17 inches because the full length of this gown is 60 inches. So I've gone ahead to gather it, joined the first and the last layer to the waistline of the half scale. And this is what we have. Now guys, I'm going to bring in the lining so we can join it to the waistline. I've cut this lining off camera. You can see I've gathered it, and this is going to be a half lining. It is not going to be full. Now we are going to sew in this lining so that we will not see the same allowance on the waistline. Okay, so you can see the way I'm placing it. Go ahead and use your pins to hold it. If you can't join yours just like the way I'm doing it, I'm going to move over to the sewing machine and stitch it into the waistline just like this. And I've also gone ahead to match it on the side seam. Okay, so you can see what the lining looks like. This is what we have. I'm now going to go ahead and join the zipper allowance, as you can see me trying to show you. And after that, I'm going to input my zipper. Okay, So from the neckline, I'm going to sew down to about 22 inches. Okay, and the rest of it I'm going to sew it with a tie stitch. So guys, this is what this looks like. You can see now it is time for us to join the sleeve. The sleeve is a flutter sleeve. I also have a detailed tutorial on this channel how to cut and sew a flutter sleeve. I'm going to link the video in the description box so you check it out. So I'm going to bring in my sleeve and then join it to the armhole. I'm also going to finish up the hemline. Okay, so here is my sleeve. You can see, but I added a little bit of tweet to this sleeve because it is two-step flutter sleeve, as you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and join it to the sleeve, and the next thing you're going to see is what this tiered dress looks like. So you can see we are done. And you guys, if you find this tutorial helpful, do not forget to give it a thumbs up. I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye.